Hey guys, we just received an email in one of our websites that actually is reminiscent of a known phishing scam that's been going around right now. And sort of as a public service announcement, we wanted to go through it with you just so that you would be able to identify it if you received anything like that. And also, I'm going to walk through some of the reasons that we can tell that it's not legitimate when we look at it, instead of just telling you, if you get this, don't listen to it. And the reason for that is that way, if you get other emails that aren't exactly like this one but have some red flags, hopefully the explanation of this email will help you be able to identify those in the future, not get fooled by them, and just delete them like they deserve. So let's dive in, sharing the screen, and go through the email together. Okay, so we can see that the body of the email goes like this. This is Melon Gel, and I am a professional photographer and illustrator. I was baffled, to put it nicely, when I recognized my images at your website. If you use a copyrighted image without an owner's license, you better know that you could be sued by the copyright holder. Now me as a writer, I'm always looking carefully at language. To me, this is already something that raises a little bit of eyebrow when they mention without an owner's license, because as somebody who creates content professionally all the time as well, I understand what copyright is, but I don't really know what you mean by owner's license. That just sounds like language you use to make something sound more serious than official than it really is. Anybody who's ever created a piece of content that is copyrighted knows there's not like a license that you have for it, so already the language isn't lining up. Then they scold us. It's unlawful to use stolen images, and it's so cheap. This to me is another giveaway. When you mention it's so cheap, you're clearly referencing stock photo sites where you can buy photos for like $1 or $2. So if that's what they're referencing here, then it makes it sound like that's the perspective they're coming from, that they're an artist that puts their work up on these sites and gets a royalty for them. Which then begs the question to me, if it's actually true that we accidentally used an image thinking it was safe and that image actually came from one of these stock photo sites that we should have paid for, why isn't it that company that's coming after us? Why is it the random artist? Because in almost every other case I've ever heard of something like this happening, it's Getty Images or one of the other big companies policing people for it. So another small flag. Then they say, take a look at this document with the links to my images you used at the website and my earlier publications to get evidence of my legal copyrights. Download it now and check it out for yourself. And then they have a mysterious Google Drive link. Then they say, if you don't delete the images mentioned in the document above within the next several days, I'll file a complaint with you to your hosting provider stating my copyrights have been severely infringed and I'm trying to protect my intellectual property. And then they threaten legal action at the end. That to me is another sign that this is not legit, and I'll tell you why. Most hosting providers pretty much say in their user agreements when you purchase hosting from them, here are our terms of service on what you can and can't do with the site, but beyond that, if you violate somebody else's legal copyrights, that's on you. We don't take any responsibility for it. I know this because the nature of my business involves dealing with a lot of hosting companies all the time. And so when somebody threatens, I'll go to your hosting provider, what I hear is nothing is going to come of that. First of all, it's not cut and dried for you as a person on the front end to automatically know where the site is hosted unless you do some digging, and a lot of people don't know how to do that. But even if they figured out where a website is hosted, they could contact that host, and the host would probably shrug and say, you need to take it up with the website owner. It's not our responsibility. So making that as your first threat is kind of empty. The fact that they're only talking about legal action after everything else, to me, speaks to they know they don't really have a case. That's not really the point of this email. The point that they want us to click some link that theoretically takes to some kind of drive file is the biggest red flag of this whole email. This is the part that makes this a known phishing scam. Because unfortunately, apparently you can cause a Google Drive document to execute scripts, the code that your browser will read, and these scripts can do all kinds of malicious things. And so the idea behind baiting somebody with this link is to get them to click a link that takes them to a hacked Drive document that basically messes up the computer of whoever goes to it. And you got to ask yourself, looking at this email, if this person was legitimately a photographer who has been aggrieved in a copyright way, Why would they create a whole document with a list of stuff and then use that as the method that they're going to show somebody the stuff that's been an issue? Why wouldn't they just say in the email, on this and such page you used this photo of a guy with an umbrella and that photo is mine, and then on this page that would be the simplest way to do it. They've actually made more work for themselves to create a whole document about it, which is why it's suspect. I ended up finding out for certain in this case that it was not legitimate because I responded to the email, taking all of the personal information out of my signature and everything, but replying on behalf of the client, essentially just to say, "Hi there, I am replying on behalf of the company as their webmaster. We take copyright very seriously as content creators ourselves, and all of the images on the website came from Unsplash or Pixabay or our own photos. And those are sites explicitly built on free-to-use photos. I realize that's not 100% guaranteed, and what you're claiming is certainly possible. If it is, we are open to resolving it. However, clicking a mysterious link from someone you don't know is a cybersecurity no-no 101. If you truly have a list of images you feel have been used inappropriately, kindly reply with that information in the body of the email itself. If this is a legitimate claim, that should be no problem to do. Otherwise, this email bears a striking resemblance to a known phishing scam and will be ignored." Look at the email I got back. Address not found. There's no such email. There you have it. I mean, if this person was legitimately an aggrieved author, they would have used a real email address, because how else am I supposed to deal with this with them if I have no actual way to correspond with them? So if you see an email like this, ignore it. I mean, you might want to do a little bit of due diligence just to look into the email, look for some of the flags that I talked about, and definitely ask yourself, just a quick mental check of where the images on your site have predominantly come from. But largely speaking, you're probably in the clear. This is a known phishing scam. They bait people with these links. And to reiterate, never click a link from somebody that you don't know in an email. That was true 20 years ago in the days of AOL when they started giving that advice, and it's more true than ever now because hackers have come up with way more malicious ways than ever were true back then of things they can do with links, so just don't click them. Hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have questions, let us know.